guys, welcome back from spring break. I hope you had a good break, a good week off. But now it's time to get back into the roll of things. Some of you, this is your last 9 weeks of your freshman or sophomore year, maybe even your junior or senior year, just depending on when you decide to take geography. Uh, just a little housekeeping things to talk about for this e-learning stuff since it's new. I'm going to try to post videos of the slideshows as much as possible just so we can continue to get those presentations and those lectures in for notes so we can continue to learn about India and the other countries that we need to talk about for the rest of the year. For right now, I'm trying to figure out the online book. I know some of you already have it from when you were in Mr. Weaver's class, but I'm going to be talking to him about getting the rest of my classes on there. So hopefully we can figure that out for you guys that don't have the online textbook. So we won't be doing guided readings until I can figure that out. But we'll have other assignments to replace those. Also, I'll be on my computer doing schoolwork between 8:30 a.m. and 3:30 p.m. with probably a lunch break around 11:30 to noon or noon to 12:30 depending on the day. So if you have any questions, just send me an email. If it's between those two times, don't expect an email back right away. So move on to doing other things for other classes or for my class as well until I respond. Also, let's try to start this semester off, or not this semester, this 9 weeks on a good foot, just so we can get ready for the rest of the year, get it done, make sure you have a good grade so you don't have to retake geography next year, and so you can move on to other classes that you want to take. Also, make sure you just get everything in on time. I'm still going to hold you guys accountable for the next class period. Remember, it's 10% off for each day it's late, and then once it's 5 days late, if you get 100%, you only get 50% of the points. So make sure you get everything done on time and turned in. For this week, I know we're going every day this week, so today, Monday, and then Wednesday and Friday will be purple days, so that's when you have assignments for my class, and then Tuesday and Thursday will be white days. And then we will flip it the next week, I believe, and it'll be obviously whites on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and purple days on Tuesday, Thursday. And then we might end up going I think 3 times a week later on. I don't know if that's official yet, but it might be. I'm not sure. But in the meantime, let's just make sure we get everything done. Let's have a good 9 weeks. Hopefully, we can come back in April for the last couple of weeks of school, just so we can have in class again, but also so you guys can, see your friends, do the things you enjoy about school, and then some of you maybe want to go to prom, so maybe that is an opportunity for you guys as well. So let's just do what we can do with this e-learning. Obviously, it's new, so we'll have to work out the kinks, but we'll just get it done. But let's move on to kind of where we left off last 9 weeks and before spring break. We had our test, obviously, so that should be in by now or by the end of tonight because your grades are due by 3:30 on Tuesday. But at the end of the 9 weeks, we left off in Africa. We had been studying the country of Africa or the continent of Africa for over a month probably. So it's nice that we're going to start talking about other countries and other continents. Where we're going to be at today is going to be India, which we're going to talk about the geography of India. We're going to talk about the landforms, the culture, and then climates and the natural resources. So moving from the title slide, you can see we're talking about the Himalaya Mountains. These are the world's highest mountains. They stretch about 1,500 miles. So these are a vast body of land. The Mount Everest and Kajunga and over 100 peaks are over 24,000 feet above sea level. This is a massive piece of land. Tectonic plates are colliding with each other, and it's pushing these mountains upwards, and they're stretching 1,500 miles. So this is a massive piece of land. And this mountain is so big, it creates a subcontinent that separates India from the rest of Asia. So it's a natural border. It's This land is so hard to get around. It's going to be pretty much impossible for India to interact with Asia in early time periods, unless they want to go around these mountains or through these mountains as well, which is very hard. It's very hard if you are not a trained climber to get around these mountains. On slide 3, we have the Gangetic Plains, which is the world's largest alveolar plain. And an alveolar plain is an area of fertile soil from river flooded waters. So as the waters start to flood, it's going to refertilize the ground, which is going to allow this place to be a hub for civilization. It's going to be a area where population is going to be able to grow. They're going to be able to farm. They're going to have animals who can graze. And because of that, that is where most of the population of India is going to be. Because it's easier to live there, you have easy access to water, you have easy access to growth agriculture, and because of that, urban centers are going to explode around this area, where these farmers and these herders can start to sell their animals and their food to people that live in these urban areas. So a lot of people aren't going to have to just be farmers and herders. We're going to have people that are going to go into other trades and other practices because of that. So some of the landforms, we have the Thar Desert, which is a mineral-rich alveolar range. And then we have the next range right below it. I don't know how to say those two, so we'll just go on. And it divides India into the north and south regions as well. And then we have the Deccan Plains, which is a flat surface that rises hundreds of feet high and with rich black soil. So a lot of this area we're talking about has rich soil. So that means a lot of people are going to be farming, a lot of people are going to be herding, and we're going to have a lot of people in the agricultural part of this economy. So we have the Ghat, which is the low mountains of India, and they are the natural borders of the Deccan Plateau. We have the Nilgiri Hills, which is a fertile region. It's known for growing tea and coffee. And then we have the Malabar Coast, which is on the western side. It is the longest coastline in India. And then we have the Ganges Delta and the Camarata Coast, which is on the eastern, and it is a long coastline as well. So we have islands that we need to talk about. There's the Lakshadweep, which is a group of 36 islands on the Arabian Sea. We have the Andaman and the Nicobar Islands, which are on the Bay of Bengal. And then we have the Cape of Comorin, which is the division between the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal. So there are 3 river systems as well. We have the Ganges, which is a deity sacred to the Hindus. So this is somebody that the Hindus believe is pretty much like a god to the Hindu religion. It draws water from a basin and has water all year, including a dry season, and it is flooding during monsoons. We'll talk a little bit about monsoons later on. We have the Brahmaputra. This forms a border delta as it joins the Ganges and Bangladesh, and it empties into the Bay of Bengal. And then we have the Indus, which flows through Pakistan, empties into the Arabian Sea, and is a source of irrigation and transportation routes for India. All have fertile soil, and fishing is an important export in these parts of the world. Obviously, the fertile soil is important. We talked about agriculture as well, but every body of water we've talked about where there's populations and groups of people living by, we talked about fishing, how it's an important export for those areas, and that is going to be a major income and major part of the economy in that part of these countries. Now a little bit about the climate. We have a shape of the subcontinent plus closeness to equator. Indian Ocean equals a varied climate. So we have very different climates throughout India. Based on where you are, you're going to have different temperatures. You're going to have different amounts of rainfall and different amounts of dryness compared to other parts. So the difference in air temperature over the ocean and air over land creates a monsoon wind. This causes rainfall and temperatures to fluctuate, creating wet and dry seasons. The Thar Desert is a semi-arid grassland, so it's kind of dry and arid, but it's also still a grassland. So natural disasters. The monsoon that I brought up earlier, I've said the last two slides, it is a good and a bad thing, depending on where you are in the world. Obviously, it's going to be good for water. It's got precipitation, and it's going to allow those rivers to flood to cause the soil to be fertile. But there are bad things. You will see droughts and flooding because of these. We have tropical cyclones, which are over the Bay of Bengal and the Arabian Sea, and the rain and winds can reach about 100 miles per hour and higher. So this is pretty much like a hurricane that we see every single year, but they call them cyclones. And then we have tsunamis, which is a Japanese word. These are coastal threats. They're triggered by underwater earthquakes. So when those tectonic plates bend and break, they cause an earthquake. And those earthquakes will cause tsunamis, which are just giant waves. And one of the major ones that has happened in at least my lifetime, maybe some of your lifetimes, was the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami that destroyed villages and killed hundreds of thousands of people. So there's a video on this slide, so make sure you watch it. It's going to tell you a little bit more about the natural disasters, especially tsunamis. It's not too long, so make sure you watch it just to deepen your understanding of these natural disasters. Some of the animals that we'll see in this part of the world is we're going to see the Indian elephant. There's kids in my 8th period that are probably laughing about that right now because there's a joke about elephants. We have the Indian rhinos, and then we have tigers as well. So the natural resources, there's lots of mineral resources. There's copper, there's aluminum, zinc, lead, gold, and silver, which are going to be major parts of why Great Britain is going to colonize India in the 1800s. But they also have petroleum and oil reserves as well, which are also important natural resources for this country, and it allows their economy to grow. So that is the notes. It's not too long. It's about 12 minutes. Not too bad. There should be assignments on Classroom as well. Make sure you turn in these notes as well. Because I'll give you guys points for that and a grade. So make sure you get that done as well. But like I said, if you have any questions, shoot me an email. I'll respond to it as quickly as possible. And hopefully you have a great first day of e-learning and a first day back from spring break.